Welcome back to the All Things Basketball podcast. I'm your host, Vic Lopez, as always, and today I have my updated middle of the season top 15 player ladder as we approach the All-Star break. This list was not easy to compile, especially as I got to the middle of it, because like any list you make, some guys are going to be obvious locks, but others, they start to feel like personal preference, so you can't make a list without upsetting people, right? So I've done my best to set the parameters for myself. So this list is going to be based on individual stats, team success, games played, with a nice wrinkle for the final four slots on this list. Number one, I'm just going to go right into it, right? Number one for me, number one in the Western Conference, Nikola Jokic, 24.9 points per game, 11.4 rebounds, 10.1 assists, 49 games played, 39% from three, 62% from the field. Just absolutely dominating night in and night out, as consistent as it gets from a superstar, ultimate team player, just does everything for the team offensively. Yes, he has questions on defense. Yes, he's slow-footed. Yes, people complain that some people say he's overrated, which I just can't get behind that idea. I think he's an incredible player, obviously averaging a triple-double, best record in the West, back-to-back MVPs, chasing his third MVP in a row, and it's looking like it, depending on how the rest of the season goes. But remember, this is the middle of the season, top 15 ladder. Nikola Jokic at number one. I'm very comfortable with this one. I feel like he is not only putting the stats up, but obviously as he's chasing a third MVP, which is special in itself. You know, a lot of people said it wasn't going to be likely, that, you know, there's voters fatigue and things like that, but this is closely looking like he might just run away with it. As special as some of these other guys have been right underneath him, but I do have to give Jokic the number one spot for now. I want to move on to the number two on this list, Giannis Antetokomo. This one, to me, he was either going to be one or two, in my opinion. I'm huge on Giannis Antetokounmpo, obviously second in the East, 32.4 points per game, 12.3 rebounds, 5.4 assists, 45 games played, 54% from the field. Another offensively efficient player, obviously. Probably the most impactful two-way superstar in the league. Even on bad nights, just carries the team with his defensive ability. He makes game-winning blocks. He gets the game-sealing rebounds. He's always on 150% game mode. This is as impactful that a two-way superstar can be. In my opinion, Giannis, just night in and night out, always a dominant force, right? And these guys in the top three, they get swapped around constantly on lists like this. And again, this is just my personal preference. I think that Giannis is borderline number one as of right now this season, but I do have to put him second underneath the two-time MVP chasing the third one. You know, I just feel very comfortable with Giannis. I don't think there's much else to say about it. Feels like the team has no identity when Giannis isn't even there. The same can be said about a lot of these guys on this list, but it does also build the case for Giannis at number two. I want to move on to number three, third in the East as well, Joel Embiid, 33.4 points per game, 10.2 rebounds, 4 assists, 43 games played, 53% from the field, 35% from three. League average three-point shooting, still awesome for a guy his size. Like Giannis, two-way superstar in the league, can fall in love with jumpers that bail out opposing defenses from time to time, but when the shot is falling for Joel Embiid, he is undeniable as top three in the NBA. Effort and on-court attitude are questions at times with Embiid, but top two, in my opinion, most physically dominant player in the NBA. I think the 2 to 3 guys that are the most physically dominant would probably be Giannis, Embiid, and Zion Williamson, obviously when healthy. But yes, Embiid just falls in that two-way superstar category, the kind of guy that, like I said, if the shots are falling, this guy is just flat out unguardable. He is just unstoppable, right? I mean, I run out of words when talking about a guy that's just this much of a statistical monster. Just a beast. He's a nightmare, night in and night out. A lot can be said about Joel Embiid. Hasn't won an MVP. Some people say he was snubbed. Some people say he deserved it at least one of those 2 years that Jokic won it, making the case this year for MVP. But yeah, third on this list, I just feel like the impact from Giannis and Jokic this season has been felt more. I mean, that's just my opinion. I feel like those two guys just consistently bring what they bring to the table night in and night out, and that's not to say that Embiid doesn't, but I do have questions at times when it comes to effort. But all things being said, right? All that being said, Joel Embiid third on this list. I think it's a big sign of respect. He definitely deserves it. Top 3 player in the NBA as of right now. I want to move on to fourth place. I have Luka Doncic here at number 4. Fourth in the West as of right now. 33.3 points per game, 8.9 rebounds, 8.2 assists, 48 games played, 50% from the field, and at a league average, 35% from 3. Now let's make the case. One-dimensional superstar, right, in terms of offense only, as of now in his career, but his one side of the court is so incredible that it outweighs the defensive liability for now, right? Luka is the true engine that makes the entire Mavericks what they are. Okay, no Luka, flat out no playoffs for this group, which you can probably say about a lot of guys on this list, but one of the true consistently great superstars we have, and with how high his usage rate is and has been, team success makes his run this season even more impressive. Now, he does have some help now with Kyrie Irving for offensive help, but I will say, Luka, phenomenal numbers, phenomenal performance, definitely top 5 player in the NBA in my opinion, and just as consistent as it gets, right? Just has an answer for any defensive scheme that's been thrown out against him, and he's just been dominating, right? And I'm gonna move on to number 5 on this list, Jayson Tatum, right? Number 1 in the East. I feel like if you're the best player on the best team in your conference or with the best record in the league, you shouldn't fall out of the top 5. That's my opinion. Again, this is not some set in stone list. This is my list. 30.8 points per game, 8.6 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 53 games played, 46.5% from the field, and again, shooting a league average 35% from 3. The case for Tatum: best player on the best team in the Eastern Conference, like you heard me say. Two-way superstar that has officially entered the group of unguardables, right? What's the group of unguardables? Guys you hope just have an off night when you're guarding them, right? If Tatum's shot isn't falling, he's getting to the basket and either finishing or killing you at the free throw line. He can kill you in isolation, he can beat you in the mid post, he can beat you off the dribble, and he can make very impactful plays on defense just because of his length and athleticism alone. Tatum's been incredible this year, okay? He looks stronger. If you watched my last video about Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics, you can get a lot of extra info on Tatum in that sense. But in my opinion, you have, I believe, the best record in the league. I'm not looking right now. Best player on that team. He's been a force on both ends. I think that he definitely deserves to be top 5. Some people have him a little bit towards more of the middle of the pack, like 8, 9-ish. I don't really, I understand there are players that are maybe individually better in the sense of like past seasons, and, people really cling to that. This list, like I said, if I have to remind you guys again, it is what they've been doing this season up until this point. And like I said, team success, games played, individual stats, all of that taken into account. So Jayson Tatum at number 5, I'm very comfortable with that. At number 6, I can't put him any further down. 5th in the West now, right? After carrying Brooklyn to like top 3 in the East. 29.7 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 39 games played, but 55.9% from the field, which is incredible, 37.6% from 3, which is just above league average. And the case for KD, I mean, do I even have to make a case for this guy? He's been incredible this season. He's been in the MVP conversation this season. Now, to some people, and understandably so, KD is still the best and most talented player in the NBA, right? Offensive superstar, most elite offensive weapon in the league in terms of ways to score, and and efficiency, right? Also a really good defensive player, right? I would say 1 to 2 unguardable player in the NBA, right? Maybe Embiid also because of height and strength with his shooting ability, and KD because of his height and just scoring potency, right? So 2 guys you hope just miss shots, right? Now you want to say Giannis is unguardable. Giannis is not a shooting threat compared to those 2. Yes, he can be unguardable for the most part because of his athleticism, because of just his physical dominance, but there are ways to kind of make it hard for him, right? With a full defensive effort from an entire team versus KD and Embiid. If these guys, I mean, if Embiid's jumper's falling, like I said before, not much else you can do about that. Same can be said about KD, but still an undeniable top talent in the league. Kevin Durant goes to any team and turns it into a contender. But health has been a concern more than ever in his career, right? As he gets to the other side of his playing years, but still an undeniable top talent in the league, worthy of being just a cut under the guys that have been playing more games, playing, individual stats wise. These guys are putting up incredible numbers. KD's putting up incredible numbers as well. But again, these guys have played a lot of games, the team's success, all things taken into account. At number 7, and I don't know how you guys are going to feel when I reveal this one, but I do feel like despite the lack of team success, the individual performance is so incredible that I can't put it further back on this list. So at number 7, LeBron James, right? 13th in the West, 30.2 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 7 assists, 44 games played, 50.8% from the field, 31.5% from the three-point line, which is pretty damn low for him. But yeah, like KD, to some people, LeBron is still a top 3 player in the NBA. And you have people that argue about his greatness at 38 years old. You have the numbers people flat out reading what I just read to you and say he's having the best season of his career. But here's my case for LeBron at number 7. Okay, he's 7th in scoring, 13th in assists, he's 5th in efficiency. What does he do for the Lakers specifically? He leads the team in points, obviously. He's 2nd in rebounds behind Anthony Davis. He's tied for 2nd in steals. He plays the most minutes on his team. All of this while his 2nd best player, Anthony Davis, is constantly in and out of lineups, right? He's been as consistent as it gets. He's had to shoulder a massive load with awful roster construction, which, partly is his fault as well. Let's be honest about that. Up until the trade deadline, where things look to be getting better, right? Now, I just think, you put LeBron on any other team, right? And he is gonna make you believe that the team is a contender. That's my opinion. I guess, you're looking at this Laker team and you're saying, well, why isn't this team a contender? And that's a fair point, but I do want to say this. The numbers are out of control. The performance is insane. At the age he's doing it, I don't want to give him the credit and put him at 7 just because of what he's doing at his age, because I feel like that would technically be unfair if someone else is doing better than him and they're younger. But I just feel like flat out looking at these numbers, how do you not put him just outside of the top 5, right? Like, how can he fall back any further? I mean, he's basically doing everything for the Lakers. I want to move on to the next player here, and some people might not be happy about seeing him after LeBron. Some people maybe agree. I have Steph Curry at number 8, 9th in the West right now, 29.4 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, 6.4 assists, 38 games played, 49.5% from the field, which is really good for him, 42.7% from the three-point line, which is incredible. Best player on the defending champions. Warriors are 8-10 without Steph as of right now, me recording this, 20-18 with him. It's been a struggling season for sure, but when Steph is on the floor for these Warriors, the game changes immensely. Okay, from the spacing alone to the opposing team's defensive mistakes that happen because of Steph's non-stop movement, right, on or off the ball. The greatest mobile artillery unit in the NBA, still today, okay? Championship hopes stay alive when he's out there, okay? Great statistical season. I feel like I can't push Steph farther than 8th on this list, both from an individual performance and just impact, right, on the team. Like, just what happens to this team when he's just out there. Whether he is knocking down shots or he's having an off night, he is a constant threat that completely changes the game, changes the game plan, just changes everything for the Warriors. He's had an amazing season, and I can't put him any further than 8th. At number 9, I have Ja Morant, okay? 2nd in the West, 27.5 points per game, 5.9 rebounds, 8.3 assists, 46 games played, 47% from the field, 33% from 3. And let's make the case, right? Best player on the 2nd team in the West, right? Equally as impactful by either scoring or distributing, which is unique to see. He can flat out take over quarters, right? Single-handedly, like the guys above him, right? Consistently performs with the best of them. He is a showstopper. He is just box office. That's not a category that puts you on this list, but it just adds to just how special this guy really is. He is an energizer bunny. This guy he is the life and soul of these Memphis Grizzlies. Really the big reason. Obviously the coaching and the depth on this team is big, right? Obviously you have, Jaren Jackson Jr. You have a bunch of other guys, right, that just collectively just help the team win, right? Everyone plays an important role on this roster. The Memphis Grizzlies are very fun to watch, but Ja Morant, just one of the more special players in the league, an athletic phenomenon, incredible guy to watch. Ja Morant at number 9, definitely worthy of a top 10. I definitely think he is solid as a top 10 player in the NBA. I want to move on to number 10. I am ready to surprise some of you guys. I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this, but number 10, Shay Gilchrist-Alexander. 10th in the West, 31 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 51 games played, 51% from the field, 35% from 3. The case for Shay, best player on a young bad team with a bright future. They've been playing great basketball recently. Shay's having the best season of his career. Okay, and efficiently putting on one of the greatest statistical performances in the league this season. Shay is flat out cooking anyone and everyone. He is unguardable this year. He's knocking down threes at a league average rate. The mid-range game is absolutely elite, finishing at the rim against any defender. He has an incredible offensive bag. He's playing like a superstar this season and played in more games than everyone but Tatum on this top 10. Now, I want to move on to the next one. Donovan Mitchell at number 11. Okay, 4th in the East, 26.9 points per game, 4 rebounds, 4.9 assists, 48 games played, 47.7% from the field, 38% from 3. The case for Donovan Mitchell at number 11. Best player on the 4th team in the East, right? He changed the aspirations for the franchise overnight, and that's not an exaggeration. Play-in team last year that didn't make the playoffs. Here they are sitting comfortably with playoff home court advantage so far, right? Mitchell answers every problem to opposing teams' defensive schemes, okay? He can score from the 3 at a high clip. He can isolate against anyone. He can get to the basket at will. He can finish. He can kill you at the free throw line. He also makes the right pass more often than not, which keeps his team a threat, right? He's vastly improved as a defender, diving for loose balls, stripping the ball when he's playing on-ball defense, picking off passes, taking charges. He's changed his game for the better on both ends, okay? Worthy of top 10, but individually, I just feel like Shay's had a much more impressive season, right? Just individually speaking. And now, I want to move on to the final 4. Okay, now this one is where I add my little wrinkle. We're going to sort of ignore games played and team success, right? And focusing more on what they do when they're playing. Now, you can kind of guess where I'm going with this, right? These are guys that I feel like they should be top 15 players. They're definitely, they put up top 15 player numbers, right? But the problem is health, right? And that's been a knock on a lot of these guys on this list. That and a combination of individual performance has been so great that I can't leave them off the top 15. So here's number 12, Anthony Davis, 26.2 points per game, 12.2 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 33 games played, 56% from the field, 26% from the three. Yikes. But the case for Anthony Davis at number 12. Second best, although potentially the best player on the Lakers when all things are going right. Okay, meaning when the three is actually falling, right? When the dominance inside is happening, when the whole falling in love with jumpers thing isn't a detriment to the team, and the defensive game-changing plays are happening, right? There's no doubt that Anthony Davis should be a top 10 player in the NBA at the very least. But here he is at number 12, right? Which still shows respect to one of the best talents the league has to offer. Number 13. Okay, couldn't push this guy any further back, to be honest with you, because when he is on the floor, he is an incredible player. He has been for a long time, but this season specifically hasn't played a lot of games, but when he has played, he's had a couple of flashes of bad games, but he's had some really great statistical performances. So Kawhi Leonard at number 13. Sixth in the West, 22 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, 4 assists, 32 games played, 49.8% from the field, 36.8% from three, and the case for Kawhi here at number 13, this has to be the ultimate sign of respect to a player who basically never plays. Okay, the resting man himself, Mr. No back-to-backs, right? Kawhi Leonard, still when healthy though, he has still been the scoring machine on all parts of the floor that he's always been. His defense still holds up, okay, despite all the injuries. Maybe not to the level he's known for, but still solid. He is a force to be reckoned with in isolation, attacking the basket, in the mid-range. He's a shot creation animal, point blank, right? No doubt, one of the 15 best players in the NBA when healthy. Number 14 is Zion Williamson, 7th in the West, 26 points per game, 7 rebounds, 4.6 assists, 29 games played, 60.8% from the field, 36.8% from three, which is impressive. The case for Zion at 14. He's the key to the Pelicans' hopes and dreams as of today. Health has been his only obstacle. No NBA defense or specific player has had an answer for his dominance. Truly one of the top 3 most physically dominant players in the league, like I said, alongside Giannis, alongside Embiid. Zion is an unstoppable force that can only be stopped by his own health. Without a doubt, a top 10 worthy player when healthy. And number 15, very hard when I got to this one because I feel like I'm gonna upset some people, and I will talk about who it was between the two. So Damian Lillard at number 15, 12th in the West, 31 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 7.3 assists, 44 games played, 46.5% from the field, 36.9% from three. The case for Lillard, this one was extremely close between Devin Booker and Damian Lillard. Why did I end up putting Dame in the top 15? One, I just think Dame's the better player, along with clearly the better individual season. When you look at stat for stat, Dame has also, without a doubt, been the only all-star on his team, where defenses can just completely focus on him. And even then, he remains relatively efficient. He's scoring insane numbers, along with involving his team with those impressive 7.3 assists per game. It's been a bad season for Portland, okay? And people would probably feel more comfortable rewarding Booker for being on a more successful team and being the best player up until KD arrived, right? But even in the twilight of Chris Paul's career, Dame does not have the help that Booker does top to bottom, okay? Even on an off night, Dame impacts winning by distributing, right, after drawing attention. Something I can't say Booker does better, right? Booker often disappears when he's having an off night, and I'm splitting hairs with this pick, okay? But I'm comfortable putting a guy that's putting up 31 points per game, and he's also played more games, okay? So I know I said it wouldn't be considered on the Final Four, but when splitting hairs, I had to take everything into account for the last on this list, okay? Also, just a little tidbit, 91.9% from the free throw line for Damian Lillard compared to Devin Booker's 84.8%. I don't know what that does for you guys. I just, splitting hairs. that's my top 15. It was really hard to make as I got closer and closer to the end. I had fun making this list. I can't wait to see if I will get any hate, if I will get love. Who knows what this list is going to do as soon as it comes out for you guys on the channel. But, whatever. I feel comfortable with it. I think this is a great list. I think that there's a lot of good reasons for why I put who I put. And yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. This is the All Things Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Vic Lopez, as always, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.